Data shows 13.5 million U.S. households were food insecure at some point during 2021. These rates went largely unchanged from 2020, when numbers spiked during the pandemic. While food insecurity can hit individuals and families of all backgrounds, some populations are more vulnerable. The USDA shows single mother households have the highest rates for food insecurity, along with Black and Hispanic families, who have historically been pushed out of wealth-building systems, leading to disproportionate rates of hunger. Our migrant and undocumented neighbors also have some of the highest rates, which the National Institutes of Health says can be related to federal policies that have blocked them from accessing food and health aid programs. In Muskegon, a food-based nonprofit is taking a unique approach to knocking down the pattern of systemic oppression, and it just might start with creating the opportunity for thriving food business. WGVU's Jennifer Moss is in the studio with Lakeshore Flavor's Andrea Copeland to discuss her plans of investing in community and building economic growth for all.
Andrea Copeland, board president of Lakeshore Flavor, thanks so much for joining us today. We're happy to have you here with us.
Thank you for having me.
You know, we've been talking about food equity and, of course, then touching on food insecurities. Kylie Ambu, of course, had a story on that preceding this interview. And your goal is actually food entrepreneurship for persons of color, basically what we would look at as economic food security. And you're with Lakeshore Flavor. What is your mission there?
So our mission is to really amplify existing food businesses in Muskegon County, but also to eliminate barriers for those that have food businesses or really want to engage in food systems within Muskegon County. So whether that's access to capital, access to business resources, and also production space. Those are the main three areas that our operations are focused on to really support those that already have a passion for food business within Muskegon County, or really just have never really had the resources to create their brand and to launch. And so we're here in the community really to support those that are passionate about food businesses, but also to support those that want to be creative within that space as well.
Absolutely. And so how did Lakeshore Flavor come to be? You have a lot of representation on your board from throughout the community, correct?
Yes, yeah, that's correct. And so I actually worked with a nonprofit food incubator out of Atlanta about 3 years ago. I wrote a grant for their team, and that's when I was first introduced to nonprofit incubators and also understanding how they are mission focused, but also drive economic development while also eliminating barriers. And so I worked with them for about 3 years on and off to support their operations, but also to ask questions about how they came to be. And through that work, I was able to connect directly with the Hatchery Chicago, and I did some formal consulting with them to understand how that food incubator works, how they came to be, you know, and also how they tangibly eliminate barriers for food entrepreneurs in the city of Chicago, South Side. And so, you know, I've been working on this project for about 2 years now. And I decided to formally organize Lakeshore Flavor with a very specific goal of amplifying businesses and really supporting those that, you know, don't have the resources, but we can create that for them. So.
And what you're doing, you're trying to eliminate some of those barriers, because starting a business can be challenging for anyone, but we know that it can be even more difficult for the BIPOC population. Persons of color.
Exactly.
So tell me about that. What are the things you're trying to help create and break some of those barriers? Because there's capital investment, there's the actual buildings, which is why we have cottage industry, but a lot of that can't happen because they don't have the kitchens, which is what part and parcel of what you would like to see happen.
Exactly. And so the first challenge that a lot of food entrepreneurs have is access to production space. And so, as you mentioned, there is cottage food law, which exists in the state of Michigan, but it prevents you from being able to really grow and to scale your business. And so that's where shared kitchens come into play, and commercial kitchens, where you're able to, you know, utilize industrial equipment to create your product. But there are challenges in terms of being able to access those spaces, but also the prevalence of space that exists in Muskegon County is very limited. And so for us, we want to develop an additional kitchen space in Muskegon County that specifically, you know, focuses on food trucks, caterers, bakers, folks that are interested in product research or product development, and creating connections within that space as well.
Because again, we talk about those barriers. There are very limited numbers of minority-owned businesses and those that then can kind of move forward, correct?
Exactly.
Give me those numbers. You had some stats that we...
So one of the challenges that we've identified within our team is that nearly 1% of Black-owned businesses receive bank capital within their first year of operations, in comparison to 7% for non-minority business owners. In addition to that, women-owned businesses as well reported that 62% of those groups utilize their income from their food business and their business in general to maintain living and basic household needs. But they struggle with the ability to procure capital and funding for their operations. And so even if you have an amazing product or an amazing idea, the ability to procure resources to bring that together creates barriers in the community.
And that is what part of what Lakeshore Flavor is striving to do, is to break down those barriers. Now, you were successful in getting a very unique fund, the Food and Farmers Communication Fund, where you're having these listening sessions. Tell us about that, because that is a great step in progress in being able to open up some doors and kind of remove some of those barriers.
Yes, and so our organization is only one of 3 in the state of Michigan that has been funded by Food and Farm Communications Fund, and their mission focus as it relates to their grantees is really food and farm systems change across the United States. And so for us, it's really exciting because by receiving this funding, it literally put Muskegon County on the map, first of all. And secondly, the focus for this funding is to understand and really focus in on what food businesses need, what the challenges have been, what is working in Muskegon County, and how we can build upon that within both our programs and our facility in Muskegon.
Okay, and so you're making strides with that. Now, one of the biggest goals, or part of your hope, is to create that actual incubator space, and that's what you've got listening sessions going on, much like the Grand Rapids market, right? What do you hope to have for the community of Muskegon when it's all said and done? And Lakeshore Flavor is totally, I mean, you've got a space in Muskegon that you're working out of, but this is the incubator space is what you're really wanting to push forward.
Yes, so waving my magic wand, what I want Lakeshore Flavor to be, and what it will be in Muskegon County, is really a hub that is focused on and specialized in food business development. And so the ability to create a space for food production, but also business resources and connecting, new entrepreneurs with very seasoned folks within food industry under the same brick and mortar. And so that's really what we plan to create. And so our space will include a commercial kitchen space for production and food development, a teaching kitchen also to support nonprofit initiatives and also healthcare outcomes in Muskegon County, in addition to allowing food businesses to utilize that teaching kitchen to conduct classes to amplify their brand at the same time. Additionally, our space will include a venue space for private and public events for the community as well, in addition to staff space and office space for our classes that we will host throughout the county.
Lots of big plans. How soon will we see some of this developing, do you think? What's your hope?
Our timeline is 2025, but really none of this can come together if we can't rally around, funders, supporters that really are focused on food development, but also equity within Muskegon County. And also those that just understand that food is an extension of culture, is an extension of our identity. What we create in both a home space and also a commercial kitchen is a direct reflection of who we are. And so we're just excited to support food businesses that have been here or also been, throughout the area under the table to really come forward and to present their offerings to the community.
Create life in those businesses.
Yes,
and
exactly.
bring it to the forefront. Andrea Copeland with Lakeshore Flavor, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.